Well, this is Andy Asher in the Boomer Studio, and now the Queen of Dreams, Kathleen "Kat" O'Keefe Canavos, with dream validations and journals. Kat will be talking about that and take your frequently asked questions. Join our awesome Bloomer Boomer community featuring live programs about living your best life possible after 55. And now, here is your host, the Queen of Dreams, Kat Canavos.
Make sure your dream journal's right by your bed. Put a pencil there, a pen, maybe, your cell phone so you can turn a little light on if you need to write it out. Or you can always just speak into your cell phone and make an turn a little light on if you need to write it out. Dream journal. And then later you can listen to it the next day and write it down in your journal if you want. Another type of journaling that artists, especially people with very artistic brains, do well with is they draw their dreams. I remember one time someone showed me a dream that she had drawn, and it was a woman, and on her breast was a circle that went around like a snail. And she showed me this picture of her dream, and she said, I've been having this recurrent dream. It's just a picture, and it'll sit up in the left-hand corner of my dream, and by the end of the dream, it has moved over to the right-hand corner. What does that mean? And I said, I'm not really sure. Ask for a validation dream. So she did, and in the dream, she heard the words breast cancer. So I said, okay, if you're having this kind of dream, and you heard the word breast cancer, what are your feelings? And she said, I don't know. Do you think I have breast cancer, or do you think somebody else does? And I said, well, I don't know, but it's your recurrent dream. So I'm thinking it might belong to you. And in the book that I wrote with Dr. Larry Burke, Dreams That Can Save Your Life, many women had recurrent dreams about themselves and their breast cancer, but there were some women who dreamed about breast cancer for family members. So I said, if this were my dream, I think I'd go and get a checkup. Just go get checked. Tell your doctor that you've just been having odd feelings, that you're anxious and you think maybe you have got something wrong, and ask for them to do an early mammogram. So she did. She had an early mammogram, and she actually had very, very early stage 1 breast cancer. So what does that mean? That means that by dream journaling and being able to track those dreams in her journal, realizing she's seeing a picture that's moving across her dreams from the left, which is the past, into the right, which is the future. She realized there was a synchronicity going on between her dreams and her waking world. She acted on it. She went to the doctor, spoke to the doctor, got a mammogram, and found breast cancer in such an early stage, she didn't even need chemotherapy. So that was using that dream tracking, she was able to validate her dream and quite possibly save her life. And she was very excited that she was meeting her spirit guides and her guardian angels in her dreams. So that sequence of dream tracking was a life-changing experience for her. So that's how you use signs, symbols, and synchronicities in your dreams at night. And the Tuesday before this one, we were talking about daydreams. And it's not unusual when we're having a really, really important night dream to have that seep through in our daydreams. So if you're listening right now and you're going, yeah, but I can't remember my dreams. I can't remember them. You can remember your daydreams. Start writing them down as you're having them and see if they don't trigger a memory to a night dream that you thought you didn't have. And that's your homework. for next Tuesday. And I want you to send me emails, catcan@comcast.net, and let me know if your daydreams are helping you remember your night dreams. So let's go to Andy Asher, and he's got some frequently asked questions for us tonight.
Yeah, Kat. Hi. During COVID, Stephanie was saying that she kept having some nightly recurrent dreams, and she was wondering what would be driving along the beach all alone in just a small car, and that's the kind of what her dream was all about. And it would come at like a bump in the road in the sand as she was getting out of this kind of a Lego car. She was just trying to get an understanding of it.
Oh, I think we talked about this dream before the show. It was a little Lego car, and she was a Lego person.
Right.
Yes, I remember. She said that she was having a recurrent dream where she'd be driving along the beach alone, or she was all by herself, in this tiny little car made out of Legos.
Yeah.
Remember the Legos that children played with when they were little? And that when she was in the car, she was a Lego person. And she was driving her little Lego car along the sand. And when she would come to a bump in the sand, she would stop her little Lego car because it was really rickety and it could fall apart very easily. And she would get out of her little Lego car. And when she did that, she became a regular person like us. And she would lift her little Lego car up and put it over the little lump in the sand or the little bump in the sand. And then she'd get back in the little Lego car. And when she got back in the little Lego car, Andy, she said she became a Lego person again. And then she would drive along, and she drove I think she said that she drove the car along the sand until she came to this village. And when she got to the village, there were all these lines and lines of Lego cars full of little Lego people. And instead of getting in line, she decided the line was too long. She drove around the line of Lego cars and headed, and I love the way you can have a play on words in a dream, headed for the hills.
That worked out well. And then the Lego cars are so vivid, I can just picture it in my mind.
Yeah, they're very colorful. Legos are all different colors, and colors are so important in our dreams. Did she mention any colors in the dream?
Let's see. I'm just running through it again here, and no, nothing, no particular colors in particular. But it'd be Lego man-like, and they'd come into a tiny village, and there'd be lines of little cars, and they'd be like they'd drive by and then just keep going, that sort of thing.
Isn't that interesting? A little Lego, instead of being
they're one of them was a little red car. It looks like.
Oh, a tiny little red car. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what I really found interesting was the Lego man instead of the Lego human. Instead of human, it's a Lego man. That's really interesting. And and a red car. Red is a powerful, angry. It can be an angry color, and it can be a powerful color. Anger is powerful. And in our dreams, Andy, our cars are our life. It's how we maneuver through life. It's our life that is kind of surrounding us. And so people can often identify with themselves through their cars. Like for the longest time when I had my Jaguar, I always saw myself driving around in my dreams in my Jag. It was just me driving in my Jag. And I would go from place to place in the car with people. And when I was going through my illness, I found that I wasn't driving my car. Other people were, which was kind of interesting. So in this dream, she's in a Lego car, which is a delicate little car. It's you kind of put it together and it can fall apart very easily. So when she's driving along the sand, and a sand on a beach is an area between spirituality, which is the ocean or the ocean of gnosis, and land where we as human beings live. And in the spirituality, we have the different depths of spirituality and the different lessons that we can learn within that ocean of gnosis. So a beach is between those two. And she's driving her little Lego car along this beach, but when she comes to a bump in the road, which is kind of a play on words again, you know, a bump in our life, she gets out of her little Lego car, lifts it over the dangerous bump so she doesn't fall apart, so her little car doesn't fall apart, and then she changes back from a human to a Lego man and drives, continued down the beach. Now, I'm imagining, since we are still in COVID, this was happening during COVID.
Yeah,
and
it was.
All of our lives were very, very precarious. We could shatter at any moment. We didn't know what to expect. It was a very scary time. So if you remember, Andy, if you turned on the TV to see what was happening from day to day, you would see these long, long lines of cars for testing, for food, for gasoline.
Paper towels and toilet paper.
Towels. Yeah. Oh my gosh, everybody was in lines. So in her dream, she pulls into the big cities. That's what was happening, was in the big cities, and sees all these lines and lines of cars, and decides that instead of lining up, again, playing words, with everybody else, she heads for the hills. And we found out later that people who went out into the country and stayed out of the city were much less likely to catch COVID.
Yeah, and that all ties into the dream.
Yes, and it all ties into her dream. What an amazing dream.
Yeah, no, that's why they're so complicated, and that's why it's great to, you know, have this opportunity to kind of look into it a little bit more, because, you know, there's so much depth to it all. Yeah,
there is. Our dreams are so important. So it kind of ties into what we were talking about with the signs, the symbols, and the synchronicities. If she wrote this dream down, which she did, I would suggest to her to look at her dream, underline the things that are important, and perhaps she needs to get out of the city. You know, her life, because at this time it's so fragile, she would do better alone in the country.
Yeah. Boy, I would love to find out, you know, 2 months, 3 months later, whatever came of it all.
Yeah. So if she's listening to this show, definitely, because I'm going to put the show up on Twitter, Facebook, and a lot of these people send me dreams on Twitter and Facebook, and maybe she'll see this. Send me what happened in her waking world that was a synchronicity to this dream.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's see here. I know that you've got a lot of things going on, you know, with your new book and everything else. Maybe you can just kind of update us on that.
Well, our book, Crappy to Happy, short stories of grit, grace, and love, have COVID stories in them. So it kind of ties in with our dream today, and it's still doing very well. So if you're wondering what to get somebody for Christmas, because it looks like a lot of areas are shutting down again, maybe you could get them this book as a stocking stuffer and just send it to them. And that way you don't have to worry about going in and shopping in stores.
Outstanding. Well, let's see. Do you want to give us a preview of next week?
Yes. Next week, we're going to be talking about some really amazing dreams. We're going to be talking about dreams where people hear their names called. And they're a really important type of dream. And we're going to talk about those in details. And I'm going to give you some examples of those dreams. Hopefully my books, Dreams That Can Save Your Life, will be here by then. And I can read a couple of amazing dreams to you out of that book.
Looking forward to that. Well, Kath, thanks as always, and really looking forward to that next week. And in the meantime, have a good one. You
too. Until next time, remember, everybody dreams, but some dreams save lives. Good night.
Thanks, Kat. And thank you, Kat Canavos, Your Dreams with the Queen of Dreams. And you can find out more on Facebook, YouTube, and at boomerboomer.com. And like us, please like us on Facebook. Meantime, you're invited to join boomerboomer.com and begin receiving member benefits